Sayed Safi is a huge celebrity in the corporate world. 30 years he spent across diverse segments like healthcare, which is wellness, uh, consumer, consumer goods, telecom. So technology to life upliftment to improving our life, and he's very passionate about transforming the education system. So he now runs an investment company where he invests in those technologies which are transforming the business landscape and the life landscape. He's got a platform where he helps SMEs do well, and he hails from UP, so he wants to start with the most populous part of India, changing the education. He's investing in teaching children out there on the new ways of education. Over to Mr. Naqvi, over to Mr. Syed, who is transforming the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, guys. I know we're at the end of the evening, so I'll keep it to the point. I'm not going to talk about how to help you run your startups. I think you know better than I do how to run them. I'm going to try and take you into the future because honestly, I believe that many of you will be part of creating the future of this great country and therefore the planet. So let me try and fast forward you 12, 13 years into 2030 and take you into 2050. How will the world look like in 2050? What will be the key triggers? What will be the trends that will impact us? Really, I mean, to me, if as a startup, you don't pick up those signals early enough, you'll be the 5th or 10th or 20th entrant in that space and you would have missed that opportunity. So that's what I'm going to try and do, and this is how the world is evolving right now. So here I go. I'm going to talk with 3 lenses. One is, what are the key shifts happening that are defining the future? Tectonic shifts are happening in many areas. Economic shifts, cultural shifts, social shifts, political, geopolitical shifts, and and technological and economic shifts. Scientific shifts. The scale and the pace at which they're happening today, it's never happened before in the history of humankind. So the pace of change of these shifts and the scale and impact of each of these shifts is mind-boggling and is getting compounded as we travel. The second is with a time lens. So 300 years back and early 1700s, I'm sure आप लोगों ने भी सुना होगा कि इंडिया को सोने की चिड़िया कहते थे, golden bird. India used to command 27% of global GDP. All of Europe put together was at peak 23%. So India used to be bigger than all of Europe put together, and that was 300 years back. We lost our way due to various reasons, politics, getting occupied by Great Britain, etc. And we are now down to 3 to 4%. China was also about 23, 24% that time, along with us. So India and China were economic superpowers of the early 18th century. And you can look this up on Google Devta or wherever you wish. We lost our way. China realized this. They almost got wiped out as a country due to famine and various other issues, and socialism as well, and picked themselves up about 30 years back. Today, due to that, they are at about double digits, 10 to 12%. They are the largest, the fastest growing till recently, and they are the second largest economy right now after US. India is about $2 trillion today. By 2030, we would be about $4 to $5 trillion. If we do things well on the technology side and on the economic side, and don't mess up on the policies, etc., and given that we are a vibrant democracy, our governance systems are better, financial institutions are much stronger, I think we should be $18 to $20 trillion by 2050. Why I'm sharing this with you? Because a lot of you guys are in your 20s and 30s, and you have startups and early stage companies, and you will be there to see this 30 years through and benefit from this growth. So therefore, the growth of the Indian economy is not in doubt. We will be 10 times more in the next 30 years. unless we really mess it up politically and otherwise. And I don't think it's going to happen because being a strong democracy and having solid institutions, we will stay the track and growth will be the biggest driver for us actually. If that's what's going to happen, now will something else derail us? So that's the third vector of future. Whatever social media or news reports may tell you, we are today having less deaths due to conflicts and more through suicide. Today, less people are dying of starvation than obesity. So today you are actually living in the best of times, especially if you're in India, because you're in one of the fastest growing countries in the world, which is going to drive in the next 30 years global growth. For the next 30, 35 years. We will become the second largest economy in the world after China by 2050, 55, overtaking US, which is obviously way ahead of everybody else right now. And if you're part of this journey, you can hugely benefit from this, and these icons, $1 billion icons, will be gone. You'll be probably $15, $20 billion if you do it well. The question is, how do you want to be part of these huge changes? So there are 5 mega trends which are going to define the next 3 decades for us, maybe 4, 5 decades as well. The first one, and this is huge. Humankind, all of us, will become immortal. Not probably our generation, but definitely a lot of your generation. Which essentially means कि इंसान normal death उसको नहीं होगी. It's like playing God, but this is reality. And I'll tell you how it impacts all of us, and as startups as well. Your generation and the future generations are going to live 150, 200 years, and they will die of accidents or something else. But if they choose to live, they will live 150, 200 years. This is going to happen by 2050, 2060, 70, not beyond that. Science is advancing so fast. Which really means that the life cycle value of a customer, which you used to calculate in 5 years or 10 years' time, you'll have to calculate in many decades. So if you get a customer when she is 18, 20, and you want her to be with you for the next 100 years, imagine the service model that you will have to deliver. Imagine the loyalty that you will have to, and the stickiness that you will have to build. So you'll have to think in very different dimensions, because humankind is going to be living for centuries. There are already more than 25,000 centurions in Japan. And I'll tell you examples so that you can relate. I used to work in Coca-Cola almost half my career. We realized that in a lot of these countries like Japan, Korea, Singapore, more advanced, at least in the Asian part, and even in the West, we started getting complaints from the market from senior citizens, people in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that they could not open some of our bottles. So PET bottles are closed with a lot of torque. If you are an engineer here, you'll understand there's something called torque, due to which you tighten the lid or the cap. A lot of the senior citizens in the 70s, 80s could not open those PET bottles. So you know what we had to do? We had to re-engineer our product lines to cater to the 70, 80, 90, 100-year-olds. This is reality. This happened, this we were doing in Coca-Cola, and I'm sure many more companies are already confronted with that reality. So the fact that humankind will become immortal will change your service models, will change your product lines, will the way you think of life cycle customer value. The second thing, especially for engineers and bioscientists, if you guys are in that space, all living things are made of organisms. So organisms will get decoded into an into an algorithm, which essentially means that everything can get interconnected. So all of us as humankind, 7 billion of us, will get interconnected, literally through these algorithms, which has very different ramifications. So artificial intelligence, which is already there at a level where the decision making through AI will be superior to human decision making. So these are trends which are catching on, and in the next decade or so, they will have overtaken humankind. That's the second huge mega trend that you're going to see in the next 10 and 20 and 30 years. I'm talking till 2050 at least. And while you cannot read the future of technology exactly because it's changing so fast, but you can pick up trends and stay aligned to those trends and pick them fast enough so that you are your first mover in this. The third is technology being omnipresent. I don't think that's in the distant future. It's already is here today. But trust me, in the next few decades, If you have not already adopted technology into your business, you'll be out of a job or out of your business. Absolutely. And I'm not only talking of apps and websites and stuff. That's passé. The way you deal with the physical world and the way you deal with each other will have to be driven by technology in every area. So you talk M2M, IoT, VR, RPA, and I can go on, and bioscience, etc. You're talking of 50 billion connected devices soon, and you're going to be talking of 200, 300 billion, a trillion connected devices in 30, 40 years' time. Every device in this room, every device in the world will get interconnected. And imagine the power of that then, and what you can do with the data and so on. So that's the third critical or mega trend that we are going to be confronted with. The fourth thing, and which is a very scary part, that humans will actually become irrelevant in our current form. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just trying to give you a future outlook. That if you're not picking it up right now, and you're not getting ready for it in 30 years' time or 20 years' time, it'll be too late. So the decision-making of machines will become smarter than us. So you got to adapt technology in a way where you have use and access to that machine or artificial intelligence, which helps us take decisions. How many of you in this room are not married right now? Not married. Okay, so about 30%, yeah, you too. So, you're probably the last generation which will choose your partners yourselves. In future, machines will help you choose your partners. It's for sure. They will become smarter than us. They will tell you exactly what's the best match. Yes, you will meet your partners, of course, and so on. But machine will take a smarter decision because they would marry every possible data point in both your lives and tell you, this guy looks smarter, but he's not your right partner. Go for somebody else. That's a reality, guys. It's going to come to you sooner than you can imagine. The last one is beyond our planet. That's going to be a reality. 2022, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars and so on. That's going to happen. By 2050, there will be life existing outside of this planet. In what shape or size, probably everybody's not defined it, but yes, there will be another planet where probably humankind will start getting populated. So in your lives, not probably in our lives, but in your lives, that's going to happen. Are you in one of those spaces where you can actually be the leader? The problem I have with a lot of Indian startups, and I invest in them and I mentor them and so on, one is we are far behind on this innovation curve. We are 20th or 100th in every space. We are not the first movers in many of those areas, and these opportunities are going to be real. So if you really want to stay ahead of the curve, you've got to disrupt the existing technology and the existing models or get ahead of the curve if you really want to be a global game changer. Okay, so what does it mean for us as startups or you as startups? What are the 5 things that you can do to really stay ahead of the curve and get into the future much more confidently? I read a very nice quote from Toffler, which said, learn, unlearn, and relearn. What he says, and it's really nice, I thought this was beautifully putting it. He says, people who are illiterate in the 21st century are not going to be people who cannot read or write. They are going to be people who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn fast enough. So if you are you're obsessed with your idea and you're not willing to change, you're out. So yes, everybody says, startups are about the idea and the people. Yes, they are. But if you're not adapting fast enough to change, and you're not disrupting your own models fast enough, you're going to be out of this race. So somebody said 7 on 10 startups fail and so on, so on. 1 out of 40 succeed. So it's a scarier data point, actually. So out of all the startups, probably one of you guys will make it big. That's the reality. So if you are not ahead of this game and you're not disrupting your own models fast enough, you're going to be out. I'll give you an example. Zomato, how many of you have heard Zomato or use Zomato? Yeah, there you go. They have a subscription model. They charge fees from the restaurants, et cetera, till now. That's been their model. They've got into delivery as well. But what they realized, and this is Deepinder DG, as they call him, he's now publicly acknowledged this. And he says, you know what? We were ahead of the curve. We thought then suddenly Swiggy and Food Panda and all came and took our case and disrupted our model. So Zomato is the first one which has said no more subscription model. I'm not going to charge any of my customers, the restaurants, a fixed monthly fee. I'm going to charge you per click or per customer coming actually and ordering something. So he's disrupted his own model, and his valuation is about 1.4 billion, so not bad, right? By any standards. But he's disrupted his own model in 23, 24 countries before the industry comes and wipes him out. So that's what I mean by staying ahead of the curve and learning, unlearning, and relearning. The second one is, how many of you have heard of the term gig economy? Gig economy, okay. This is a reality. So none of the startups, no company, so there are 4 stages of any company, of a startup going into become a company, to an organization, and then an institution. Let's say Tata is an institution, or SDFC at best, in India, a couple of them only. None of them today can have all the skill sets within. So you got to complement the skills you have within and outsource a lot of the interventions. You cannot have everybody on roles. Somebody was alluding to it, outsourcing and taking help. Collaboration is a huge deal that's going to happen. And no startup probably in tomorrow's stage can hold. Yes, you will have to hold IPs, but other than that, everything else can be outsourced. So your idea, your IP can be yours, protected by law, but other than that, you've got to play along with so many people. Don't be afraid to hire people better than you. You've heard of Google. I'm sure everybody in this room uses Google. So I've been privileged to meet Larry Page and these guys. And what they realized very soon, once they started getting scale, that they were not good enough to run their companies. Somebody was talking about financials and reporting system, etc. They just weren't good enough. They were the ideas people, right? So they got in Schultz as the CEO to actually run the company. And that's what you do when you get a little bit of scale as well, and you say, no, this is not my core. I will back off, I'll be the ideas and innovation and fundraise, etc. I'll hand over running of the company to somebody else who'll do a better job than me. So you got to keep thinking how to complement your skills in today's and tomorrow's gig economy. The third one is there's a life beyond technology. Everybody talks about technology. In my first 5 bullets, the future is all going to be about technology, but there's a physicality of business as well. There are processes and systems to be put, because otherwise, it's only when you go for a fundraise that you realize your financials are in a mess, your reporting systems don't exist, etc. So you've got to bring in the non-technological parts earlier than later. So that's the third thing you can do as a startup or a company at an early stage. Have you heard of Churchill? Winston Churchill? Yeah? He was a wartime prime minister of Great Britain, 1940s. And there was a lot of wrangling going on about, how the post-war division will happen, etc. And he said something very smart. He said, it's all about the money. The rest is conversation. It looks very materialistic, but trust me, all the investors who want to come in have also come in for that value that you can give them. So if you're not correcting your business model now, you're going to run out of money even now, forget about the future 30 years later. So if you don't have a sustainable model right from the beginning, which will get you to profitability and cash positive in the next 6 months, 1 year, in the first 6 months of 1 year, you really don't have much chance of continuing to raise funds. All the Ps and VCs, etc., any stage you talk about, the funding is drying up for models which are not sustainably profitable. So cash is king. That's absolutely critical. The last and my favorite one is for any startup or early stage is staying small. And I don't mean small in terms of size, right? But thinking like a small company. Because what that does is you're frugal. You're always thinking disruption. You're always thinking big, even if you become bigger. But if your mindset is of a smallish company and saying, no, let's be collaborative. Let's do something big. Let's keep remodeling ourselves. You're not afraid to disrupt your own business and your business models all the time. The moment you think you're too big to fail, that's the end of your business. And there are many examples we can talk about offline of huge global companies which have just failed because they thought they were too big to fail. Kodak moment. It used to be the byword, right? Wiped out. They just didn't pick up the signal fast enough. So that's about always thinking that you can be disrupted out by somebody else. So be smart enough, keep thinking, big, but stay small, in your mind. I honestly feel, guys, that we are truly blessed to be living in today's time. And you're seeing this world evolve from a vantage point in one of the best countries in the world, without a doubt. Because it's a growing economy which will grow 7, 8, 9% if we get it right for the next 12, 13, 15 years, and probably 6 to 8, 7, 8% for the next 20 after that. How many economies will offer that opportunity? Almost nil, right? So you're seeing this in a democratic, free environment, 30 years of growth ahead of you. What better place to be in? It's up to us now. It's up to you to grab that opportunity. Few takeaways. Be nimble as you evolve for the next 20, 30 years, but be disruptive in the way you think. If you are inventive, it doesn't mean you cannot be collaborative. You can be inventive and collaborative at the same time. You can be fast to market, to growth, etc., but you can be systematic and yet fast. These are not poles apart. They can be synchronized into what you're doing. You can be small, but you can be a visionary in the way you do it. They are, again, not bipolar. They can be very, very easily combined. And obviously, if you're large, you can still be humble in the way you do it. Something I read which is relevant to all startups, I really feel. If your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, I know I can do it. That's the way you got to think as a startup. And just from my side, don't only look at the destination, enjoy the journey as well, because the journey is more fun than getting to the destination. All the best. Have fun with it. Thank you.
Hello. What I personally feel, mind-blowing, sir. And but I had only one question. I disagree that I will fall in love with a woman on the advice of a machine. That's the only thing I disagree with. If you are marrying again, I'll challenge you to it. Incidentally, yesterday, I have found out, so there was a Facebook post yesterday. So there is this lady who has built a matchmaking site for disabled. A unique thing. I'm going to tap her. But again, I'm not going to tell, the machine is going to tell you who's to fall in love with it. Because everything is fair in love and war. So, but mind-blowing, sir. Now, we reached to the last part of our event, which is the award ceremony, for which I would invite Mr. Jafar Naqvi, who is the chief editor of Media Today, one of our co-sponsors, to come and give the awards. And Syed sir, he's a chief guest. So आप award देंगे, मैं announce करूँगा. Sure. आप इधर आ जाइए, आप इधर आ जाइए. So the first award is for the best initiative in talent acquisition and technology. It is Judge India Solutions Private Limited, and this technology, the category is information technology.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to India's first corporate news channel. We invite interviews, articles, press releases from your organization. Visit our portal www.indianconventions.com. Thank you.